Many of us struggle to make friends in a new environment or have difficulties to win other people over to our way of thinking. How to win friends and influence people helps you to overcome those barriers by teaching you simple, concrete techniques on how to become a more likable and persuasive person and have more meaningful relationships. Still not convinced? If you don't believe me, then believe Warren Buffett, who also read this book when he was 15 and credits the teachings from the book with transforming his life. This is Sophie from Minimalist Ways, and I'm here to share 5 big ideas with you that I've learned from reading How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. The first big idea is to become genuinely interested in other people. In a study conducted by the New York Telephone Company, they looked at telephone conversations to find the most frequently used words in our language. Can you guess the word on top of that list? Not surprisingly, the most commonly used word was the personal pronoun I. It was used 3,900 times in 500 conversations. According to Carnegie, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Everyone has something that they love to talk about, whether it's their work, hobbies, or relationships. And when you find their interest, you should become interested in their interests instead of focusing on yours. In my own life, I frequently catch myself talking about my interest instead of listening to others. This isn't intentional, it doesn't even mean that I don't care about others, but rereading this section of the book for this video made me realize that I have to work on becoming a better listener. But how should we do this? For example, I'm interested in volleyball. I have a friend who also likes playing volleyball, but loves rock climbing even more. Now, I don't know anything about the sport, but since he's interested in climbing, I also ask him questions to learn more, as I am genuinely interested in what makes him so passionate about this sport. Trying to find other people's interest instead of constantly talking about yours can add so much richness to your life in ways you wouldn't have imagined. The second big idea is, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Theodore Roosevelt was famous for greeting all his staff by their names. By doing this, he showed others his appreciation and he got far more back in return. Similarly, Napoleon III used the following technique. Step 1. Catch the name when it first comes up in a conversation. Step 2. You're not sure? Ask for it to be repeated or even spelled out if necessary. Step 3. Repeat it back to the person multiple times to associate it with the person to whom you talk to. So let me give you an example. When someone says, "Hi, I'm Tim, nice to meet you," instead of saying, "Nice to meet you," say, "Nice to meet you, Tim." And finally, to make sure to keep the new name in your memory, after you're alone, write it down to remember it later. This is my favorite part, as people tend to underestimate how important this is. I'm originally from Hungary, and even though my first name has an international version that I use, my name is still written very differently, Zsófia. I've seen so many written versions of my name over the 4 years I've been living in Austria, and even though I got used to it, it still hurts every single time when a close friend doesn't remember how to spell my name. On the plus side, however, if someone writes my name correctly, especially if it's the first time, it always puts a huge smile on my face. After watching this video, try to apply this the next time you meet someone. Remember their name and use it often, saying, "Hey Tim, how are you doing?" instead of, "Hey man, how are you doing?" makes a huge difference in how your conversation will evolve. Big idea number 3 is, be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves. According to Carnegie, if you want to know how to make people shun you and laugh at you behind your back and even despise you, here is the recipe. Never listen to anyone for long. Talk incessantly about yourself. If you have an idea while the other person is talking, don't wait for him or her to finish. Bust right in and interrupt in the middle of a sentence. But if you want them to like you, do the opposite. As Carnegie puts it, remember that the people you are talking to are 100 times more interested in themselves and their wants and problems than they are in you and your problems. So if you want people to instantly like you, engage in conversations where they can talk about themselves and their accomplishments. To be interesting, be interested. And don't forget to ask questions that the other person will enjoy answering. This also shows that you are paying attention to them. The fourth big idea is, the only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. 9 times out of 10, an argument ends with each of the contestants more firmly confirmed than ever that he is absolutely right. The key takeaway is that you cannot win an argument. Regardless of the outcome, you will both lose. Ben Franklin used to say, "If you argue and rankle and contradict, you may achieve a victory sometimes, but it will be an empty victory because you will never get your opponent's goodwill." But why is that? It's because if you win, you will make the other person feel inferior and hurt. So this is what Carnegie recommends instead. Distrust your first instinctive impression. Our first natural reaction in a disagreeable situation is to be defensive. Be careful, keep calm, and watch out for your first reaction. It may be at your worst, not your best. So listen first without interrupting the other person. Avoid resisting, defending, or debating, because that will only result in the opposite of what you would like to achieve. Try to build bridges of understanding. And be honest, but look for areas where you can admit error and say so. Apologize for your mistakes. With this, you will reduce defensiveness and start a conversation. And the final big idea is, call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. We tend to begin our criticism with sincere praise followed by the word "but" and ending with a critical statement. The problem with this, however, is that we get so used to it that when we hear it, we ignore everything else that's been said before the "but." According to Carnegie, this can easily be fixed by swapping "but" with "and." So when you talk to a kid, for example, instead of saying, "We are really proud of you for raising your grades this term, but if you had worked harder, the result would have been better." Try saying this instead. "We are really proud of you for raising your grades this term, and by continuing your hard work next term, your grades can be up with all the others." It's a different wording, yet it makes all the difference. So to recap, here are the 5 big ideas from part 1 of how to win friends and influence people. Become genuinely interested in other people. Remember that the person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Be a good listener. Encourage others to talk about themselves. The only way to get the best of an argument is to avoid it. Call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. Alright, this was part 1 of How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Let me know down in the comments below which principle you found the most useful, either from this video or from reading the book. I will put the links to the book and the audiobook in the description below. If you're interested, check it out. Also, if you want to see more of these videos in the future, don't forget to leave me a like and make sure to click the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Bye.